of the greatest imams, fuqaha, jurisprudence, scholars of Medina, 70, who qualified him to be ready. They said, you are now ready to derive your own opinions, obviously based on dalil, from raw Quran and raw hadiths. That's something beyond measure. And I am very sad to see that a lot of people these days, and a little bit in the past as well, very quick to give fatwas, and they like calling people over to them and to answer questions, any question that comes up, and they feel embarrassed. If someone asks them a question they can't answer it, they have to make up something. Prophet ﷺ said, whoever lies on my tongue deliberately, let them earn or preserve their place in hellfire. And I'm going to come back to that, inshallah, a little bit later on, about giving fatwas by these imams, what they thought of it. The second clarification I wanted to make from last week's topic, I mentioned that there was a group of people in Kufa, in Iraq, new group of people with a new, strange, dangerous idea. They were called the Khawarij. I mentioned that one of their beliefs was that they would say that a person is a kafir by merely committing any sin at all, even a minor sin. And I gave some examples. I'd like to correct that by saying it wasn't a minor sin. They made a person a kafir only when they did a major sin, like drinking of alcohol or zina. Just to clarify that, and knowledge belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We only use what we can, and we have to be very careful. If we make a mistake, we correct it. My brothers and sisters in Islam, I'd like to start by saying there were many schools of thought in history. These madhahib, when you talk about Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi and Hanbali, people who say these things, there were actually many schools of thought under great imams. But for some reason, they were short-lived because of some political reasons or other reasons. And it was amazing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed these four schools of thought to remain until today. The Hanafi madhab, Maliki madhab, Shafi'i madhab and Hanbali madhab. Some of the examples of short-lived madhabs of the past were people led by Shaykh Ibrahim al-Nakhai and the Layth ibn Sa'ad and Awza'i, etc., etc. These names you probably haven't heard of them, but they were schools of thought that existed. And when you hear about, I don't know if you heard about your parents or grandparents or some people around in the community who assume that if a man, for example, has physical contact with a woman, then he loses his wudu, or the woman has any physical contact, just a touch, shaking of the hand, they lose their wudu. Obviously scholars differed on that, but Imam Ibrahim al-Nakhai, who was a teacher of Abu Hanifa, he is the one who began this opinion. That was his opinion, based on his own dalil. He saw this. And it made its way into the Hanafi school of thought somehow. Now first, also, I'd like to say that my references for this, where do I get all my information from? Some people ask me. There are many books, but unfortunately in English you can't find many of them that talk about the lives of these four imams in English. The best one that I found that talks in English, what I found, was one called The Four Imams' Lives